Petero Biakatonda lives in a remote village in Uganda. Born with an extremely rare disorder, his skull is being forced into a cone shape, squashing his brain and destroying his sight. It's imperative that he's operated on quickly to have any chance of survival. Petero is being flown to Dallas for life-saving surgery by a leading US surgeon.
There's a major urgency for him to be treated immediately, so we need to do this.
His head will be sawn apart and totally rebuilt in a series of difficult and dangerous operations.
Oh my God, this thing is so much in there, in the skin.
7 months in America will transform more than his misshapen head. When he returns to his village in rural Uganda, Petero's life will never be the same again. "13-year-old Petero has never been on a plane before. Until a few months ago, he'd never left his village. But now he's in Dallas for life-saving surgery.
Welcome to Dallas. Welcome to Texas.
Texas.
Yes.
For the next 7 months, this apartment will be Petero's new home. He has been brought to America by a Ugandan social worker called Immaculate. His mother and father have been forced to stay behind in the village to look after their young family and tend to their crops. Immaculate will become Petero's guardian, carer, translator, and best friend. Petero has a rare genetic disorder called Cruzon's that affects just 1 in 10,000 newborns. It needs to be corrected within a few months of birth, but as Petero's village is so isolated, he was left untreated. It's extraordinary that he is still alive.
How you doing? How are you? You doing fine?
Petero has come to the hospital for an appointment with the man who could change his life. Head of the medical team, Dr. Kenneth Salyer, a leading craniofacial surgeon.
Are you having a good time in Dallas? Ask him if he enjoyed seeing the train.
In Cruzon's disease, the bones of the skull fuse together prematurely, so the skull can't expand normally as the brain grows. The brain is forced to grow in the direction of least resistance.
Petero ended up with a steeple-shaped skull because this was the weakest area of the skull in the growth process. And so the skull grew up instead of forward. This can result in constriction of the brain to the point where there may be even herniation of the base of the brain and death. So there are any number of areas where he could potentially in the future not be with us. So we need to do this. There's a major urgency for him to be treated immediately. You can tell him on day after tomorrow that we're going to make a improvement in the shape of his head and his forehead. Okay. Tell him it's not going to hurt and he's going to go to sleep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's very nice.
Petero's treatment is being made possible by a charity headed by Dr. Salyer, called the World Craniofacial Foundation. Founded 17 years ago, the charity helps over 75 children a year from all over the world, suffering from severe skull deformities. Petero's misshapen head has meant that he'd been feared and tormented by the people in his village all his life.
ogwazinda kukiraba omutwe ogwazinda kiraba omutwe manya kiraba agasa agakula
asanga abaana ne bakuba bate mu kumukuba tebamusemberera bayimirira wala ne bakwata amayinja ne bamukuba
olumwanvuma ngo lala nkangitiisa ng'olulala tankangitiisa olwamala mukuba ne mwegobako teyakanga nangi twagambanga katumukange tulabe oba amaaso ago byaka twali tugenda ku luzzi nga tugera tatulaba nga tumukanga
genda tuviirana ku luzzi genda
era bamulabanga kisolo oda kale nga muntu eno eka ewaabwe naye ng'ewasigadde.
The bullying left Petero a recluse until one day a car arrived in the village, a sight that was so unusual he was tempted out of hiding. A social worker had come to visit another child. She spotted Petero and took a photograph of him to a doctor who knew of Dr. Salya and the charity in Dallas.
We immediately said, this needs to be done now. This is not something that will wait till tomorrow.
Petero is about to undergo the first of 3 operations that could turn his life around. "13-year-old Petero Katonda has travelled from his home in Uganda to Dallas for a series of major operations. They will correct his severely deformed head, stop him from going blind, and potentially save his life. For 3 weeks he has been undergoing tests and examinations as the doctors determine whether he is ready for surgery. Separated from his parents and village for the first time in his life, Dallas is an overwhelming experience. Suffering from both culture shock and the numerous medical appointments, Petero is feeling the strain.
Children cry, they cry all the time, but for him he never does cry. I've never seen tears like as in crying or in pain or this. He's really, really brave. And I think he'll go through the surgery well. He's determined to do it. And I think he'll do it.
Growing up in a remote village, Petero had no books, pictures, photographs or television, and no idea of the world beyond his village. In America, everything is new to him.
Luno gira tugula luna tugula twengera munju ineta erutulwaso netwekona ekino ekyuma ekifumba kyayi kifumba emmere ekyo.
Dallas is a world away from his life in Uganda. His home is a hut built of mud bricks.
Ekyuma kikino ekyogentu kikino.
His village has no electricity, and it takes half an hour to walk to the nearest water supply.
Takozesebwa amazzi n'ossa mu kikopo n'ossa mu sink n'oza ebintu. Kyensinga okwagala sink kubanga bannyonjo. Kano kasotta mmere yange. Nowakifumbamu omugaati. Kiterekamu emmere n'enyoboga seffuliya zebafumbamu emmere n'ebijanjaalo.
Petero's bed in Uganda is a mat that he shares with his 4 brothers and sisters.
Wano wembatwala kyekisenge kyange Ono ye maama wange bamuyita wano mu America ali mu biseera bye eby'eddembe.
Although Petero and Immaculate are becoming close, it's the first time Petero has left his parents, and he's desperate to speak to them.
Mpulira bubi andudde okugenda ne bazadde bange anti sibalabako.
The nearest telephone to their village is 3 miles away, but the pre-arranged phone call with Petero's parents fails as the line is faulty. It's a massive disappointment, but Petero is keeping his spirits up. "13-year-old Petero is the eldest child in his family. His brothers and sisters were all born perfectly healthy.
Kakati awo twamanyira kati bwe yafuluma bwati ng'amaaso gakoze eki gavuddeyo.
Kale bwe namala omuzaala namala essaawa nga 4 nga sitegeera biri ku nsi, naye bwe nadda engulu nensobola nadda engulu kale nga waliwo abantu bangi ne mbabuuza kiki, nekwata ku lubuto nga terukyaliko, ne mbabuuza nazadde omwana nti naye nga bamunkwese, ne mbagamba mumumpe mulabeko. Nawulira kugamba kale nalowooza kubanga nali ndabyeko bannange nga bazaala abaana, bwe ate nagenda okulanga owange wanjawulo.
Waddawo siwere kati nagenda mu ddwaliro Masaka talina kye banyamba. Akati alina kugenda mu kyalo mu basawo Abaganda naye nti nkola ki?
The witch doctor's prescribed cure for Petero was to sacrifice 2 chickens and to pour the blood over his head.
Batugamba nti omwana bamuloga byabwe byali biwanvu, netuuka nembyesonyiwa, ndaba bijja kumbuzaako newenywa amazzi. Omwana ne mukwasa Mukama Katonda eyamutonda.
Walowooza nti ajja kufaako oba walowooza nti ajja kulama?
Ye namulowoolezanga mu kufa.
It's 5 a.m. Petero is on his way to the hospital for the first of 3 operations that will save his life and his sight and dramatically transform his appearance.
Quality of life is what it's all about, being able to live your life in a fashion where you can interact and be productive. This affords him an opportunity to be a normal man in his village.
It's now 5 weeks since Petero left his parents in Uganda, and he's anxious to speak to them. His new toy phone has become a prized possession.
Okay, here we are.
Minutes before he goes into surgery, Immaculate makes a final attempt to get hold of them.
He's going to be in theatre just in a few minutes' time. So we just wanted to talk.
For the first time, the phone nearest the village is working, but his parents are miles away. But speaking to somebody in Uganda is a comfort to Petero.
Ogamba ki?
Obubaka.
Muno obagamba muno okulongosebwa kutuuse.
Nywa mulundi gumu. Very good. Nywa mulundi gumu. Good boy. Good. Webale. Swallow. Tosesema. Mira. Swallow. Byagala koma mira. Mira byonna. Bigenze yasama. Oh, good boy.
Here's just some water to wash it down, sweetie.
Still clutching his toy telephone, Petero is wheeled into the operating theatre.
Oh, I pray to God that it comes back safely. I've been trying, but Well, I'm still praying. Okay, here we go.
Today, Dr. Salya's team will restructure the top of Petero's skull, removing the cone shape and releasing the pressure on his brain and optic nerve. They have made an incision into his scalp and carefully peel it over his face, away from his skull. This is one of the most complex and risky operations that the team perform, and today they have an extra challenge.
We've got a finding that we didn't anticipate, and there's a venous plexus, which is an abnormal accumulation of blood vessels and makes it hazardous. And so the chance of bleeding, or even the chance of his having serious bleeding, is major. So we've really got our work cut out for it.
With the skull exposed, they drill a series of holes around the section of bone that will be removed. Using spatulas, they ease the brain's protective layer, called the dura, away from the skull. There's now a gap of just a few millimeters between the skull bone and the covering of the brain. It's not much, but it's enough to allow the team to saw through Petero's skull. The first piece of skull is lifted away. The team has managed to remove the top half of Petero's skull without damaging the venous plexus. The deadly pressure on his brain is now released, and it can transform into a natural round shape. And his sight is saved because there is no longer pressure on the optic nerve. Using the pieces of bone they removed, the team now decide how to reposition them to make a normal shaped skull.
Okay, he's got it.
Petero's forehead is removed, and Dr. Salya bends it into a wider shape. Petero's new head will be bigger and rounder. Dr. Salya tries out the new forehead for size.
If you visualize when he comes out, it's a little bit too far forward, but I wanted to over-exaggerate it just to see, on purpose. We'll bring it back a little bit.
The newly shaped pieces of bone are positioned.
It's too flat, huh? Maybe it's better like that. It's better to be angled back. It's going to be angled back, huh? It's going to be like that. I think that's the best, huh?
To create enough room for the brain, the team have expanded his skull, so there are now gaps between the pieces of bone. These gaps are filled with a protein substance called BMP2, which stimulates bone growth, so that in time, Petero's skull will regenerate its own bone.
It was such a deformed shape. We had to make multiple little pieces of his skull in order to put back an acceptable curved shape and a round head instead of a cone head.
Petero's first operation has gone well. The next one will be even tougher. But first, he has to recover. All his life, Petero was persecuted by the people of his village because of the way he looked. Now, 2 months after his operation, he's enjoying his new appearance and loves exploring the outside world.
kati ababa tibakyanvumye kati mponya kunsekerera nasanyuka nekuba n'emigo wansi.
Almost halfway through his treatment in Dallas, it's not just the shape of his head that's changing. Petero's personality is undergoing a transformation of its own.
He's more playful now, like he feels good about his body and his face. He wants to be free, he wants to go out and feel what it is like to be like everyone else. Yeah. He says that he was very happy and excited. His head was round. The children were not going to laugh at him anymore, and he was going to go back to school and start schooling like everyone else.
The operations will provide Petero the opportunity for an education that he'd been denied before. Shunned and bullied by his community, Petero grew up learning to hide from other people. But when he turned 7, it was time to go to the village school.
Ewana abana bamutya nnyo. Kati bwe bamulabanga nga bo badda sayidi eri. Kakati ono byatulanga bakadde nze binamutuuza mu makati.
Abasekera laba katwa kasongovu kalinga omuti. Olira bubi.
Kyali kizibu n'ensonga nti engeri gye namulaba nga atunula mu kitabo n'akaaba amaziga ne gajja. Ate okuwanika kayagala, yali ayagala. Naye nga amaziga gano gajjanga ne gayika mu kitabo. Gamuyitanga omutawaana. Awo ne ndyoka ngamba konzibu muzeeyi ngambe muzeeyi we. Naagera mumuza kubanga talina byakola.
Waakiri yalituuseeyo n'abala 1, 2, 3 oba n'abala AAA n'akola ki naye n'abaawo ne mukomya waakiri mu kibiina kya 3 naye ng'atuuseeyo ne kimpisa bubi ne ngamba kale enkyanja kuva mu nsi katono omwana anaaba atya.
It's 4 months into Petero's treatment in Dallas, and his life has begun to change. But he now has a second major operation to undergo, far more dangerous than the first. This time, the bones of his face will be sawn apart.
This is going to be hard. This is going to be really hard.
Mama.
Young. This is going to be hard for him.
In Uganda, Petero lived as a recluse. Now with his new shaped head, he's keen to get out and about. This is the first time he's been amongst so many people since his operation. With a newfound confidence, he's making friends. He met Lawrence through the charity that is helping him. Tomorrow is Petero's second major operation. The doctors will restructure the bones of his face to protect his sight.
He's a brave boy. I mean, the surgery is going to be really hard. It was hard the first time. He was brave, he went through it. And this time it's going to be hard, but he has to go through it and he will. He has a strong determination to live. He has that, and that's what pulls him through.
Ebibuuzo baabitubuuzizza dda naye biddemu era nga luli wabizzeemu owuli otya kulongoosebwako enkya.
Siwulira bubi.
Naye
wali kyentiddeko.
Today, Petero is going into hospital for his operation. Even though it's 5 a.m., there is still time to dance.
Gw'olabyeko ayinza okuva mu kuddamu ate n'ateeka mu kyoto.
Oh, good boy.
Mira.
Drink it all down.
Mira.
Good boy. Ooh, is that nasty?
With such an intricate and risky procedure, it's vital that leading surgeon Dr. Salya rehearses the operation. He is using a scaled model of Petero's skull.
It's one of the most complicated surgeries that there is, not only in craniofacial surgery, but in all of surgery. It's risky. It's risky. Once we've cut it, so we're going to be holding his head, and we'll be doing exactly like this, what we're called the down fractures. And you'll hear it crack and pop, and then the face is separated from the rest of the skull. It's quite an operation. And we're going to hope and pray that this goes well, and we expect it to.
With Petero's skull exposed, the surgeons saw apart the bones of his face.
So this is the row disinfection forceps, and the idea here is to down fracture the face. And now I'm going to gradually, little by little, separate it. Okay.
Petero's midface has been cut away from his skull and is being suspended in space.
This direction, yeah.
A metal structure called a halo is used to hold his face in its new position. The halo will be screwed into the bones of his skull through his skin and will stay there until the bones have healed. 6 hours into the operation, Petero is bleeding far more than expected. He has lost 80% of his original blood volume. 3 litres of blood has had to be replaced.
In an operation like this, you can expect any variable amount of blood loss, and he had a moderately excessive amount in comparison to most of our cases, but in many cases I've seen much more than this, so I don't anticipate any problem related to blood loss.
After 8 grueling hours, the surgery has been completed and the team is stitching up Petero's scalp before replacing his halo.
I got my little sewing team working there. We're in good shape. Hey, how you doing?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
I'm very pleased.
How is everything?
Great.
Great?
Everything is great. He is doing fine. A little bit more bleeding than we would like, but it's okay.
The operation is over. The surgeons have left the room and Petero is about to be wheeled out. But as the team remove his breathing tube, his condition suddenly turns critical. He is now in real danger. The sudden blood flow from his mouth and nose could block his airway, filling his lungs with blood.
We're going to have trouble here, guys.
The team don't know where the blood flow is coming from. Desperate to clear his airway, they are suctioning his blood, but it just keeps coming. He's anesthetized again and put on an emergency drip.
2 units, 2 units.
He is still losing blood rapidly and is given another liter.
Grab this stuff.
At last, the team managed to stop the blood flow. They've replaced his breathing tube, and Petero's condition stabilizes. For 15 minutes, his life was hanging in the balance.
Good job, Bruce. Thank you, everybody.
How is
Have you been in our new unit before?
No, I haven't.
2 hours later, Immaculate is finally allowed to see him.
Right in this side.
Okay.
It's been a long and anxious day for her.
Oh my God.
Although the medical team have carefully explained the situation, it's not enough to prepare her for the sight of Petero.
Oh my God.
Petero. Yaka.
Come out of that. Oh my God. Oh my God. This thing is so much in there in the skin.
It looks like a lot. But
Yeah,
the swelling doesn't hurt anything. So
Can I go to the bathroom?
Can I use the bathroom, please?
yeah. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. Oh my gosh.
It is tough to see, especially those big old screws in his skull. That's tough. But he's got a big heart, and he's a courageous little kid. Man, I tip my hat to him.
2 days after his operation, Petero has recovered enough for his first meal. He won't be able to eat solid food until after the metal halo has been removed. The halo is holding the bones of his face in position and will only be taken off once they are rigid enough to stay in place on their own. This could take up to 2 months. Nine weeks later, the bones of Petero's face have healed, and tomorrow the halo will be finally removed. All he can think about is what he might eat.
Huh? Fish.
Fish?
Kenyanja.
Kenyanja?
Yeah.
Like 20?
Yeah.
20 Kenyanja?
Yeah, no more.
30. 40 fish.
Yeah.
And the whole cow?
Nenda kulya chocolate.
Oh, chocolate. That's what he was asking for.
Petero hasn't been able to speak to his parents for weeks.
Wanji? Wanji? No.
Tugenda ziri sawa musanvu tugenda kulya buli.
Mama wange ziri sawa meka.
Waffe? Tugenda kwebaka ziri sawa nnya.
Bagambe mu wiki
akati tukulinde tujja kufumbira amatooke ng'okomyewo. Bye.
Bye, wasibule.
Bye. Do you have M?
Yes. Hey.
Do you have Z?
Yes.
Tomorrow, Petero will be having his third operation in 5 months.
Yes.
The doctors will realign his eyes so that they face forwards instead of out to the sides, and they will also finally remove his halo.
Hey.
Good.
What is your name?
How are you?
What is your name?
Oh, good. I'm Maria.
Maria.
Maria, sweetie.
This will be the final step in his dramatic transformation, leaving behind forever the appearance that cursed his past. The day after his operation, Petero is back home. With his eye still swollen from surgery, he looks at his new face for the very first time.
This is what the surgery is all about. It's about returning a child to the opportunity to lead a normal life.
The doctors have intentionally overcorrected his upper jaw because as he gets older, his lower one will naturally grow forwards. In a few years' time, Petero will look even more like everyone else. With his life and sight no longer threatened, and with a newly shaped head and realigned eyes, it's finally time for Petero to return home to Uganda. His parents haven't seen him for 7 months and have hardly spoken to him by phone. They have no idea how their son now looks, or whether they will even recognize him. Dr. Salia is on his way to a conference in South Africa and has seized the opportunity of seeing Petero return home. This is the first time Petero's parents have met the man who saved their child's life and sight.
I will want to follow him up and see how he's doing. So in a couple of years, I'll be back to check him.
Kubanga kati ebibadde bimulaga byonna byakyukako. Nze weemutegeredde entambula yange gimanyi kubanga entambula yo teyakyukako.
After a 16-hour flight, it's now a 4-hour drive to the village.
How are you? Thank you. Welcome.
It's not just a few new words that Petero has brought back with him. He has a suitcase full of toys, a complete wardrobe, and most importantly, a pair of Texan cowboy boots. For 13 years, Petero was ostracized and tormented by his village because of the way he looked. Now with his appearance transformed, he is returning home. How will the villagers respond to him? And after months of living in the comforts of Dallas, how will he respond to the village? After 7 months in Dallas, Petero has finally returned to Uganda. With a newly shaped head, he is on his way home to the village that forced him to live as an outcast. He has decided to arrive in disguise. The villagers have turned out in force, anxious to see the transformed Petero.
Alikisobola okwesunza abantu kulaba omuntu eri afaanana obubi ng'afaanana ng'ekisolo kituufu waliyo omuntu asobola okumujjanjaba nadda mu mbeera y'abantu.
How are you? How are you?
Abaya kalulu byakamwaliwo.
These are the people that made Petro's childhood a misery. Now they are embracing him.
Super, look at this.
Yeah.
In Dallas, it was Petro who was like a fish out of water. Now it's Dr. Salya's turn.
Bannange abagenyi bange mbaaniriza nnyo.
Thank you so much.
You've touched my heart.
Dr. Gambie.
You've touched my heart.
Dr. Gambie, mwasanyuse nnyo mutima.
And you're very welcome.
Big job. They are bringing you a present, and they're going to give it to you. The mother is going to give it to you. In Uganda, we always give a bunch or whatever, so you have to get up and receive it.
That's our pizza.
Yeah, that's the pizza.
Okay.
Hey.
Mpulira bulungi nnyo ng'amasanyu gaabadde mayitirivu na kaakati. Buli we mutunulako okwegamba ndaba ekifaananyi ekipya ennyo gye ndi.
It will be a few weeks before Petro's eyes can adjust to the bright sunshine of Uganda. Until then, he will wear sunglasses. At the age of 7, he was forced to leave the village school, bullied by the children and rejected by his teachers. Now, for the first time in his life, he is the most popular kid in school. Since he was born, Petro's parents have prayed for their son to grow into a man. Petro's own ambition was to be accepted. Today, he is a hero. But 7 months in Dallas have changed more than just his appearance. With a taste for life beyond the village, adapting back may not be easy.
Yeyo kwegamba yatandikiddewo n'okumukosezaawo kubanga nze lunaku lw'eggulo akawungezi yaŋŋambye maama nenkya bayinza okunnona n'enzirayo ne mubuuza baani nti dokita agenda kudda nnone ne mugamba lwaki tobeera wano mba wano sijja kusobolawo kati awo nendabira daawe wamalira ewiiki mwezi era ajja kuba akaluubiriddwa.
Nandiyagadde kubeera makanika ng'akanika ebintu, nkanika mmotoka, maseffuliya, lwediyo, ate nno njja kuba nkanikira sente kale kulimba byonna bibanaandetera nga mbikanika.
Petro's operations have transformed his appearance, stopped him from going blind, and ultimately saved his life. Although he may look more like the other children in his village, everything else is changed. Has his remarkable journey to Dallas left him even more the outsider than he ever was before?